much as I want mental health to not be taboo, I find myself having trouble talking about it. I think there's a little bit of shame and stigma that I don't want to admit because I don't want people to judge me differently. I want to talk about this because I recently talked to a therapist about whether or not anxiety medication would help my anxiety. For the longest time, I didn't think there was a problem, and what happens is I was so used to my anxiety that I was able to live with it, but I don't know what a life without anxiety feels like. My therapist described it as a person with anxiety will live in the future. If you watch the recent Pixar movie, I can't remember the name right now, but I'll put it on the screen. It was about how the character in the film, this animated film, had anxiety. I related so much to it. It's like living in the future and being afraid of what is there to come. It was so interesting having a label and like description of what it means because she kind of explained it that a person with depression lives in the past and someone who has anxiety lives in the future. I never thought that anything was wrong with me since it's so normal for me, but as I've become more in tune with how I feel and how I respond and my state of mind, it's been very interesting to see that perhaps a life without anxiety would be amazing. I think I have trouble with talking about this because I don't want to be viewed as someone who's different. I don't want to be an outsider. And I think that's a very tough and sensitive spot for me. A lot of it has to do with being a black sheep of my family, and those labels are not something that I put myself in. This is something that I've learned and recognized through therapy, which is that in families, we are oftentimes put and assigned labels. In my family, I was very sensitive, I was different, I didn't quite fit in with the rest of the girls. I wasn't your typical girl who liked shopping, and honestly, to this day, I don't really enjoy shopping. I prefer online shopping. And as a child, if you grew up as a millennial, there were shopping malls, and I'm sure maybe Gen Zs also go to malls now, but back in the day, online shopping wasn't a huge thing. So going to the mall and department stores was a big thing, and my mom really enjoyed shopping. But for myself, I didn't quite enjoy it at all, to be honest with you. And I think that was one aspect that made me different from my family. And I didn't quite fit the gender roles. I was pretty studious, so I really like to do well in school, and as I talk about that as a different subject, but I think that I use academics and doing well in school to hopefully try to fill a part of me that felt missing. And as I say that out loud, I actually feel very emotional about that because it hurts to admit that there's something missing. And I think once we acknowledge that and accept that that was the reality of things, then we can let it go. For the longest time, fought these feelings, but through meditation, through therapy, I recognized that I need to accept the feelings and process them. But onto the topic of anxiety and being different, I hope you're not alone. If you are on a similar path as me, you're not weird, I promise you, and it's not your fault. I think oftentimes I internalize problems that aren't really my fault. If something goes wrong and it's beyond my capability of causing that problem, sometimes I take it on, which is not the healthiest. I wanted to talk about the thought of mental health and the stigma attached to it. I think another part of why I feel like for myself there's that stigma is really early on felt like I was different. And I think this is why during these times I feel very empathetic and sad by the state of things where right now DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, are, in my opinion, being attacked. And maybe that's not a absurd statement considering that there were executive orders passed to get rid of them in the government, and people's jobs that were DEI related were literally cut and those folks are getting fired. But I digress. My point is that because I understand the feeling of not feeling included. I mean, even in research, when we have diverse thinking, diverse groups, diverse thoughts, and just backgrounds and experiences, there is a more productive and effective solution, and teams work better together. Because you have that different group of thinking and no one is in an echo chamber. So right now it's a tough time. And bringing it back to mental health, because I identify with those who don't feel included and being part of the outside group, it's hard for me to admit that I have this situation. If you can't tell, it's really hard right now for me to talk about it without feeling a little emotional. I did speak with a psychiatrist because I did want to see what solutions were out there. I talked to my therapist about it, and she had mentioned maybe talk with my primary care physician to see if a medication would help me. But then a friend had reminded me that our company has something associated with our insurance, and there was telehealth. So I was able to book a psychiatrist and talk to the psychiatrist about whether or not it would make sense for me to go on an anxiety medication. So right now I did not go on an anxiety medication, but she did give me some recommendations, which was maybe try for 2 weeks. There's something called the Calm Magnesium for anxiety, and I've been taking it for about a week and a half. It has helped me, which has been really interesting. I find myself sleeping better, and I also find myself to be a little more calm. I don't know if maybe I haven't passed the 2 weeks that it isn't like super obvious, but I definitely see that there has been improvements in my sleep and general mood. I noticed that if I take it later on, it is not as effective. So just being able to make sure I take it sooner. I want to talk about this because I think there's also stigma in taking medication, and one of the biggest fears I have is, wow, am I going to take this for the rest of my life? What's really interesting is I think someone who has high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart condition, they don't have those thoughts that, hey, I'm going to be dependent on this medication that's going to help me. But for some reason, I have this thought, and maybe those folks do too, and they don't talk about it, but I find it so common that folks with mental health circumstances, problems, we have this struggle. And I actually talked to a friend recently who told me that they don't recommend this, but they were on an anxiety medication and felt better. So what they did was they stopped taking it, thinking that they're great, they don't need to take it anymore, and realized they didn't need it. Go on it, and they didn't talk to a doctor to do that. So I think that stigma is there, and I think by talking about it just one step at a time, hopefully we're gonna break those barriers and be more open to normalizing mental health and accepting that that is just a problem that is similar to maybe high blood pressure, diabetes, and of course all of these things are problems that we want to fix. As I talk out loud about this, it feels less foreign, it feels less scary, I think a big part of being scared to talk about it is the fear of judgment, the fear that someone's gonna think that I'm crazy or I'm not capable or I'm incompetent. I will say no, that's not the case. I was watching recently the Super Bowl parade and the speeches that the Eagles gave, and something that really resonated with me was someone said we had a purpose before they had an opinion, and that truly resonated with me. I think that we can get caught up in the what are they saying about me? How can I look the best? Am I making myself look stupid? Just those thoughts surrounding perception of who we are and losing sight of what is the goal. And I will give Jalen Hurts so much credit. Go Birds! If you haven't watched my last video, check it out. It was my feelings about the Super Bowl. I am the Eagles fan, so again, go Birds. But back to that point of being focused on what are we looking to achieve. And right now I'm looking to prosper, to be healthy, so I can be my best self for my friends, my family, when I'm at work, for my dog, for just the world. And when I get stuck in that cycle of thinking about what other people are thinking, it can lead to lots of noise and not results that I want. That all being said, I'm so grateful to have this ability to process what I'm going through. Thank you for being open to what I'm sharing. Let me know if you resonate with this, or if maybe you have a friend, a family member that may be going through this. Perhaps share this video with them. Hopefully they don't feel alone. Hopefully you don't feel alone. Really, my goal about talking about this is to break the stigma that mental health is unusual. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people in this world is experiencing anxiety. Given the state of things and the state of our current country in the United States, it's very anxious inducing. Please take care of yourself. If you are looking to consider any medications or go to therapy, do it. It is going to help you, and I wish you all the best. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon, and thanks again. Bye.